Now, in order to talk about preparing for the SAT, I'd like you to meet a few friends of mine. I'd like you to meet Peter, Paul, and Mary. Really? Really, guys? How long have I been working here? You never gave me a theme song. All three of them are juniors here at Sunnydale High, and they've decided they want to go to college. Each one has a plan for doing well on the SAT. Peter's plan is to spend the next several months catching up on back episodes of Breaking Bad, and to show up for the exam several months yonder on some lonely Saturday and do his best. Paul isn't so much of a gambler, so he's given himself a couple of weeks before the exam when he's going to lock himself in his room and cram the best he can. So that's 2 good solid weeks of grammar, mathematics, vocabulary. He's going to read everything he can. He's going to work on every math problem he can find, and he's more or less going to live like Leo DiCaprio in The Aviator surrounded by mason jars, though Paul probably doesn't have quite as cute of an ex-girlfriend. And then there's just something about Mary. She just seems to be on top of this SAT thing. You see, Mary intends to work consistently. Several times a week, sometimes for no more than 20 minutes at a time, but for several months, maybe even a year. Good, steady, consistent work. And during this time, she's going to go over practice problems, she's going to go over practice tests, and she's going to find areas of weakness. She'll drill those areas of weakness. She'll figure out, for example, what vocabulary words she doesn't know. And she'll dedicate herself to learning a discrete and manageable number of words a week. There are going to be things in math that she never learned correctly the first time. Or maybe she just forgot them over the years. She'll go back to those topics and pay special attention to them. And she does this, now come on, you knew this was coming. She does this anywhere she wants because she has her iPad with her and she has SAT Max loaded and ready to go. So she can take it with her and study anywhere, anytime. Which means that when the day of the test comes, well, let's see what happens the day of the test. Let's see how they all do. So first we had Peter, remember him, the guy who didn't want to study, figured he'd wing it? Well, he fails. He ends up a shiftless wanderer, tramping from one blighted town to the next until he ends up alone and unloved, dying of consumption in the browning grass behind an abandoned 7-Eleven next to a mangy dog that doesn't have the strength to scratch his own fleas. All right, kill the music. We only get like 10 seconds of that stuff before they call the lawyers. And then nobody wins. So maybe it's not as bad as all that. That's not really what's going to happen to Peter. That's actually the plot of La Boheme. But, he's not going to do as well as he should, or as well as he could. So fine, he's probably not going to die of consumption, but if he decides to go to college, the road will be that much harder. He'll be without that very important arrow in his quiver of a good SAT score. And now Paul, who represents our second approach to studying, cramming. Paul did study. He did do some work, but he doesn't fare too much better than Peter because he tried to take in too much too soon. He found out the hard way that there's a limit to how much you can learn in a week or so, and he really didn't have anyone to guide him anyway as to what he should be focusing on. So Peter and Paul were a little disappointed with their scores. Now, who was left? Oh, that's right, Mary. Well, Mary, you did just fine. When you started with us, you discovered you never quite learned probability the right way. But we got you up to speed with our lectures, and you worked through our endless drills, and you got your head around it in time. And yeah, we also found out that you had lost a lot of those grammar concepts along the way. It's been a while since 7th grade. But we took care of that, and you did just fine. We're proud of you, Mary. And we're sure there's going to be a long list of colleges who take notice. Oh, and Mary, what do you think the chances are I could convince you to take after me and major in philosophy? So, Peter, Paul, and Mary, what's the lesson? You need consistent, intelligently planned SAT practice to improve your scores.